Hi, my name is Don Taylor, and welcome to PLP Pathways webinar number 5. Well, let's get the conversation rolling. We had talked, PLP Pathways met about a week ago, and we started talking about how we wanted to format these discussions. And we had talked about wanting to hit on the 3 pillars of personalization: flexible pathways, personal learning plans, and proficiency-based assessments. And we wanted to make sure that we hit on each of those throughout the webinar. So we'll be talking about those today. But before we go too much further, we'd also like to discuss the middle grades conference, which happened on Saturday, January 7th. It was sponsored by the middle grades, and it's a culminating activity related to the Middle Grades Institute, which happens every summer. And participants at the Middle Grades Institute implemented their personalized learning, their middle level plans, and then they come together again in January. And we want to hear from folks. Everybody, I think, attended, and it'd just be nice to hear how folks, what they thought about that conference and any takeaways they had from it this year. And why don't we start with Maura?
About the conference, it was really great to hear about all the changes that are happening in middle schools around the state. And one of the things that really struck me was the number of participants who brought students with them to present. So we had a nice collection of students and teachers talking about their implementation of personal learning plans, and then also talking about proficiency. And it was just really nice to see all the changes that are happening sort of throughout the state around the 3 pillars.
Okay, Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Tallman, Essex Middle School Edge Academy. I don't think I ever did the introduction. I thought the conference was great. Not only was this the largest turnout as far as participants that went to MGI, but also folks that were just wanting to be at the conference and learn and present. But I had the exact same thinking pattern as Maura there about the students. We've never had that many student presenters or co-presenters, and it shows that this work is really now at the next level where, kids are, it's beyond just the theoretical, and now it's really happening. And the kids were there and really excited about talking about the work that they're doing in their schools.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Kevin?
Yeah, I thought the conference was amazing. It's always exciting to hear other teachers and how excited they are about the PLP process and the hard work that everybody's doing throughout the state. And just, piggybacking on everybody else, it's always exciting to hear from kids and the impact it's having on them, because they're certainly at the heart of it.
And then Allison?
I'm Allison Gothier. I teach science at U32 High School Science. Again, as I would say what everyone else has said, it was a great think tank. We get so stuck in our districts and what's happening, and to be big picture. This is working. People are doing this was my takeaway.
All right, and I just agree with almost everybody. I thought that it was really interesting to see how many other vested parties were coming to the conference this time. It wasn't just people who had participated at the Middle Grades Institute, but there was people from organizations that actually could provide a lot of support to teachers looking at flexible pathways. So Vermont After School Program was there. We had people from the Agency of Education were there. It really felt meaningful, and I always like that conference because it kind of gets your new year off on the right foot, and it kind of gets you thinking about the plans you had made in the summer. I know so many times we make all these great plans in the summer, and then those fade and we need to recharge again in the summertime, but it seems like meeting in January really does a good job of sort of refreshing your memory about the thoughts and ideas you had related to personalization. And it was great to see everybody again too, who you had seen in the summer, albeit much differently in the middle of winter. One thing that I wanted to talk about today, just real quick, was flexible pathways. I know we spend a lot of time talking about goals and PLPs, and I wanted to talk just a little bit about flexible pathways and maybe hear what folks are doing on that. And I know that I always have felt that flexible pathways has been somewhat intimidating in terms of, trying to create paths forward and outside of the classroom for students. And I just want to remind folks, both and who are listening, that flexible pathways can often mean bringing the community to your classroom. And one quick example of that is we're doing a PSA project for our green team. So our green team, the committees are, we have students chose their teams and they're going to produce a PSA or an advertising campaign. It's going to have a meme, it's going to have a slogan, a logo, and a short video. And to support that, we invited Nilda Kerr from Kerr Advertising, which is a local advertising shop in Montpelier. And she came in and gave a great presentation about all the things they look for when they're making an advertisement or an ad campaign. And what was also really interesting was she's done a lot of work with Vermont Tech. So it was a really good combination of showing how she was promoting education. She was able to explain a lot about Vermont Tech. And now moving forward, our PSAs are going to be based on the information that she brought to us. So, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at flexible pathways, where you have, it might be just project-based learning too, but adding that community piece to it, I think is really important because it allows kids to see how there's careers out there that are involved in these types of activities. And the other issue too is that the kids are going to be presenting their PSAs to the rest of the school and the community at a Green Team Expo that we're having right before Green Up Day this spring. So that's sort of my flexible pathways experience. Recently, we're always looking for community partners. And I just wanted to hear how folks are dealing with flexible pathways in their own classroom and how you're developing pathways forward for your students. Anybody?
I can jump in. Yeah, so for me, flexible pathways and proficiencies definitely go hand in hand in my eyes, just because with proficiencies, it's you can have a variety of mediums in which students can demonstrate proficiency to a learning scale, learning target, learning goal, whatever terminology your district uses. So in my eyes, like flexible pathways is, we're giving these students all these different opportunities to just demonstrate their understanding, demonstrate their knowledge, demonstrate their growth toward understanding a specific target or as it relates to the standards. I love what you said about involving the community. Currently, we're in the middle of our independent projects, which are like passion projects for our 5th through 8th graders. Our 8th graders have 8th grade challenges that they work on throughout the year. But our 5th, 6th, and 7th graders, this is kind of morphed in with their information writing unit, where they pick something that they're excited about. They do an intensive research project around it, and then we have a huge open house where all 93 students set up their little trifolds and give presentations to the community that comes through. And again, that they can use videos, they can do a demonstration, they can make a tangible product, but it's, we don't have a clear cut model of this is exactly what product you need, and it allows more engagement and excitement from them. So that's when I think flexible pathways, it definitely engages with that excitement piece that we're getting from students.
Okay, thank you.
I can go next. I would agree with Kevin about the proficiencies and flexible pathways going hand in hand, because I feel like flexible pathways to me is just, that kids have different opportunities to demonstrate that they are proficient in a particular area, and it's not a one size fits all, or we're all doing this or that. So for us on the Edge Academy team, I would say our best example of that happens during our project blocks, and our kids, like I've said before, use the negotiated curriculum process to develop a year-long theme. And this year they've tied their themes into the sustainable development goals. So they've each chosen a goal that they really want to focus on. But I would say we probably have about 20 to 25 different projects. The proficiencies that we're going to be looking at are going to be the same for everyone, but how they get there is going to be very different. And they all are seeking community partners. Many community partners we have established over the years, but at the same time, we always have new projects. So kids are reaching out through their research. They find people that could be potential partners and reaching out through email or phone calls to develop partnerships. And, even just today, we had 2 students meeting with a local nursery owner, plant nursery, to look at our greenhouse to think about how we could innovate and renovate it. So that particular partner came to our campus and worked with the kids and to assess what they can do during the winter months to get our greenhouse in good shape for the spring. So that's an example of, you know, for us, of a flexible pathway. They reached out to this person and they worked with her today to gather information for their particular project.
Lindsay, I just have a couple clarifying questions, if you don't mind. One is, you said that all the kids, so your kids have a variety of different projects based around a theme that you've negotiated. What proficiencies are those transferable skill proficiencies that you're going to have kids meet? Or where are you getting your bank of standards? Yeah,
so the ones that we work on throughout their projects are, of course, the transferable skills. And so that's one bank of proficiencies. But then also we incorporate our ELA, the reading, writing, and speaking standards into it as well. So they, like, for instance, if they're crafting an email, there's a certain, you know, we're looking at certain learning targets for that, and provide the kids with templates and rubrics, etc. And or we might, you know, they might all write a argumentative piece related to their topic, but it's their topic, so their products are all going to be very different, but some products might be the same. Like, they're all going to have the essential components of their project, the driving questions, the sub questions, the research. Those are all, you know, there's all standards aligned with those. They're going to give a presentation probably in about a month right before February break or right after. We have a peek through the window where they present to their families and community partners about what they've done thus far as far as their research and information and work, and then gather feedback so that they can continue plugging away for March, April, May, until we have our project fair. So we pull from mostly the transferable skills, but many of the Common Core standards as well.
So, and then I had, thank you for that. I had just one other question too, is that you and the Edge do a really nice job of pulling standards or documents from, I think it's from around the world, like the Universal Human Rights document you've used. And you also said sustainable development goals, right? And can you tell me more about that document? And can you also tell me just a little bit more about how you guys go about finding these documents, or how you've integrated them into your curriculum?
So that particular, those goals are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So if you search United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there's 17 of them. We've always used education for sustainability as our lens. So this just has added another structure for us that really it's more of an organizational structure, and also to give a sense to help kids really understand what sustainability truly means, and what it looks like globally. So the goals are, for instance, like no poverty, zero hunger, sustainable cities, economic growth, quality, health, and well-being. So they encompass everything that we want for all humans on this earth. And we wanted the kids to really hone in on one or two max to think about their project work. So we have kids that are, like I said, we have a lot of zero hunger, actually. So we have a variety of projects going on right now. One is I have a student that is creating bags out of old coffee bean bags. So she's creating, sewing, designing these bags so that we can have a weekend snack program for kids that are on free and reduced lunch, to take home snacks for the weekend so that they have some healthy options. We have kids that are investigating the potential of creating a green roof at our school. We have kids that are innovating this greenhouse project. We have a student that's developing a walking app for the town of Essex, and he's linked with the Essex Historical Society, and thinking about how people can understand his town and also preserve the important aspects of this town, the story of the town's history.
Okay.
So there's a variety of, projects that kids are working on, documentaries, but they're all connected to these goals.
Right. That'd be interesting if maybe we could get some of those documents up on the PLP Pathways webpage.
Yeah, I shared today a potential post for how we do our reflection around our weekly goals on Monday and Friday. I shared that. So, and there's some links to documents there, but I would also be happy to share any of those resources. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How about Maura and Allison? Back to the flexible pathways. How are you guys approaching that in your classrooms?
Sure, I can speak to.
Oh, sorry.
I would say just experimenting a lot this semester with differentiated product would be the flexible pathways. I actually have a question. Just when Kevin and Lindsay were speaking, I'm formulating this question in my mind about flexible pathways. Like the better we do it, right, with proficiencies. Even within the past week, we've come across the issue of who is able to, and Donna's speaking to this too, who is able to give learner feedback about these certain proficiencies that might not be within their endorsement area. So even within the past week, like one of our social studies teachers had assessed or given feedback about a literacy standard, but is not endorsed with the state of Vermont for literacy. Like what are you all doing when that arises?
Well, I think it's a little bit different for us at the middle level because I'm a generalist. So, and we work in a really integrated fashion. So I think that's a really interesting question that you pose about that. And for instance, literacy to me is one of those pieces that transfers across every subject area. So, I mean, maybe that comes down to just more of the collaboration aspect of sitting together and looking at student work and talking about it. This is what I see and this is what I see. But I feel like in our particular structure, for me, we always look at it from that lens, like as a generalist, and everything kind of is integrated together. But I can see how that would be tricky once you get into the high school.
I think too, at the middle level, we really work in interdisciplinary teams. So even if you're not a generalist, there's representation from all licensure areas on a team typically. And so I even think about our science teachers are using the same learning scale that I use for summary writing, and they use it in their science class and I use it in my humanities class. And so we have conversations about that. But I think thinking about the structure of middle level teaching team as opposed to structures within a high school, I think there are some differences there.
And I would just suggest one of the things I do is if I have something important that I'm writing, I'll give it to a wide range of people. I don't just give it to language arts. If I know science teachers who are really great editors, and I'll have them review it. And I tell my kids that's the same thing. Find somebody who can give you good feedback, at least in the editing or the writing process, because the feedback, and I like that peek through the window concept that Lindsay had. You're halfway done your paper and you give it to a variety of adults. And there's a lot, literacy, I definitely think crosses so many different boundaries, and there's a lot of great readers and a lot of great writers out there. And getting feedback from all those people can really inform and influence your writing. And so we have, and that's also where you start calibrating on your proficiencies and you start calibrating on your rubrics. And when we have big projects, we'll talk about if we have integrated projects, we'll talk about the rubrics across the team to make sure that everybody's okay with that, and that we're also meeting the needs of kids on a wide range of levels so that we can differentiate it. One thing I do want to go back to, and I'm going to take a break here and just, I have an appointment. I made a misschedule and I have an appointment that I have to shorten the broadcast. So it's going to be about 4 o'clock or 4:05. But one of the things, just so you're aware of that, and I want to make sure that we get to professional development opportunities that are out there too. So we've talked about flexible pathways, and I think one of the consensus among this group was that we usually have these rich conversations and we never get quite to our whole agenda, right? I'm glad we're talking about flexible pathways, but the takeaway for me, or the light bulb that's gone off right now, is that flexible pathways really works well with proficiencies, right? So you can have all these kids doing these different projects, but if you have the proficiencies that you identify, as Lindsay did, you can really, or that Kevin was talking about too, you can really have kids do a wide range of activities if you have those, solid base documents, and if you have those proficiencies that you're shooting for. So I think that's really important. And, I'd be interested to see if we could drum up some resources that articulate that more effectively than I certainly can. But that was a really good point. And I think that's one that at least I'm going to take back to my, to my practice in my classroom. Allison, does that answer your question about having different folks, read it? I'm not sure I would have, it depends on what your school's like, but I would encourage students to have as many adults or peers reread their material as possible. But I suppose that at the end of the
it's more like policy logistical, right? Like if I have a certain endorsement, like what is the AOE doing to support teachers having multiple endorsements so that we can do this multidisciplinary, effective, flexible pathways work?
Right. I think at the middle level, and I know the Middle Grades Institute deeply supports having folks with a wide range of endorsements. And I'm not sure if that's the same emphasis in high school. I think high school may still have the single subject outlook. But, well, I mean, what do you guys think? Is that an emphasis at your schools, having the dual endorsements?
Definitely. And also, I was just thinking, like, one of the transferable skills is clear and effective communication. So it's like that, again, it's like there should be, like, I think sometimes it just comes down to, like, having the confidence that we had, like, just like you were saying, Don, like, you don't have to be a language arts teacher to edit a paper. We all have different perspectives when we look at people's writing and the content of writing, and clear and effective communication should be transferring across all areas of our students, day. So that's another selling point, I guess, Allison, too, is like, that's a transferable skill. And how maybe it's the PD, or it's like, how are the teachers at your school supported, and realizing that they have these skills and expertise, and it's okay to stretch beyond just what we've traditionally seen as an English teacher's role, or a science teacher's role, or a math teacher's role.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so I think those are all really good points. And again, I always appreciate the hard work and thoughtful commentary you guys provide. Just really quickly, I'd like to go around the room or around the circle. And if you guys could give me maybe one tip or one resource that you've found really valuable, and maybe a professional development opportunity that you're pursuing, and then we'll bring it to a conclusion. I just want to really recommend, there's this a website or blog called Practical Ed Tech, and you can subscribe to the newsletter. I think his name is Richard Byrne, and he's out of Maine, and he sends a newsletter every week that is just really dynamite. If you're using Google at all, I just found out that Google now Classroom has the opportunity to send out different different templates to different students, and he's got a ton of resources. So that's Practical Ed Tech. If you Google that and you subscribe to that newsletter, it's really good. And then that's just a really great resource. And then I'm actually going to pump the PLP Pathways website. I've been going back on to that and looking at all the dynamite resources that folks have started to upload across a wide range of topics, the proficiencies, personal learning plans. And I just, that's a place that I start going back, and I'm kind of rediscovering lots of the information that people have contributed. So those are my 2 tips for the week. Maura, what do you have?
I've been doing a lot of reading about grading, and I've been doing some work at the district level, redoing our grading policy, and been doing a lot of reading by the author Gusky. And it's just been super helpful to me to see, some really clear examples of grading policies within a proficiency system. Another one is Grading from the Inside Out. It's a great resource. And so it's been really helpful to be able to have some evidence to show, like, this is where we're going. This is why we don't give zeros. This is why we are moving to proficiency-based. And so it's been really helpful to think about that.
Okay, thank you,
And I
Lindsay.
can add those links to the site. So.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Or if you could tweet them out too, that'd be great too.
Yep.
Well, I don't have any specific websites or books, but I guess what's been like mostly on my brain, because it started last night, was I just started teaching at St. Mike's again, middle grades organization last night for the spring semester. And so I'm trying to really take, obviously the whole course is a model of best middle school practices, but I am trying something a little bit different and really taking a proficiency-based approach so that the college students, the undergrads and graduate students are experiencing what our students are experiencing currently. So they have a really good model and sense of what that might look like to be in a proficiency-based learning environment.
Awesome. Kevin?
Twitter's been amazing for resources for me. I just, especially like after our conference, following more people I heard from and just seeing what they're tweeting out. It's just a one-stop shopping. And CVU Learns, Champlain Valley Union has some awesome resources online, standards-based everything. I mean, they go through like the parent aspect and how to communicate home with families. They talk about how do you create learning targets and scales. They've been coming in to coach up a lot of teachers from our school who are, it's been a big shift into the whole proficiency-based, standards-based assessment and learning. So that's been helpful. And coming up, I know PD-wise is March 24th is the big SBL symposium at St. Mike's, which I attended last year and I got a lot out of it. We've been standards-based in Swift House, but still just hearing new ideas and hearing the excitement and the buzz. It's similar to the feeling we got when we left the middle grades conference a couple weeks ago. It's just like you get the, it sparks the energy and you hear some new ideas and just get to see what other people are doing, which gives you new ideas to try out with their own students.
All right. Thank you very much. And Allison?
Sure. Not super teaching pedagogy related, but I've been on a lot of NASA and NOAA phenomenal websites that just have blanket data about our changing climate. And we're using it to design engineering investigations in this unit in earth science. So they're like using the data to find their solution and test their solution.
All right. That's really good. And what I'll do is I'll reach out to you guys and maybe we can tweet out some of those resources and also put those on the PLP Pathways webpage. Again, I really appreciate all that you're doing. And again, if you can start hashtagging using PLP Pathways, and if there are learning opportunities that you're hearing about and you think our audience or folks at middle level or proficiency or anything to do with Act 77, just let us know and we'll get the word out. All right. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our next webinar, believe it or not, is February 16th. It'll be a Thursday at 3:30. And I just want to thank the Middle Grades Collaborative for supporting us, as well as the Tarrant Institute for Innovative Education. And hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for all your hard work, and we'll see you soon.